and welcome back to Here Be Dragon. I am your host, Stephen Stark. Joining me, as always, are my beloved co-hosts, Nessie and John, and we are also very excited to welcome back to the channel Kelly, Jaded Redhead.
Ow!
But yeah, so welcome back to the channel, Kelly. I think most folks here know who you are, but you want to just say hello and
I've never seen this person before.
For the fan community.
That's for John specifically. Hey, Left Dad. So my name's Kelly, also known as Jaded Redhead on Instagram and a little bit on Twitter. I do not have my own channel or anything like that, but I am very active in the fandom community, kind of like an all-around nerd. So I get randomly invited on random live streams, and I'm happy to be here.
Sometimes very randomly.
Sometimes it's 3 minutes before airtime. Sometimes it's during airtime. By the way, Nessie, thank you so much for having me on. This week I made a guest appearance on Bleep the Patriarchy. It was Bleep the Binary with Nessie and Aemy Blackfyre with Low the Links. And they were so kind as to just say, hey, you want to come on and chat? And thankfully I was able to do so. So that was a lot of fun. Thank you again.
Oh, you're welcome. And we'll probably be doing more of that in the future on Bleep the Patriarchy, because people have lots of things to say. Who knew? So, yeah.
A lot of bleeping to do.
Yeah. We got to use a random chat invite. So,
yeah. Slow down.
I have to say, Betsy pointed out that you have your own fans, Kelly. It's absolutely true because, I'm just saying, like, the first time you came on my channel, that's the first video that hit 1,000 views, and then you just recently came on to talk about X-Men, and that video currently is about to cross over 12,000 views. So I really don't know.
Yes.
I don't know why I'm not having you on every single week, because
okay.
Geez, I need to go check my views. Maybe.
Okay, so we've got her over here on Here Be Dragons now. So I expect this video to get at least 20,000 views, and I want 1,000 likes.
Yeah. And we'll do something silly if we get 1,000 likes. We'll do something incredible.
Steven's writing out the contract.
Well, and I will say, like, I first became aware of you as a sort of nautical, noted nautical nerd.
Yeah.
But like many of us, your interests are quite varied, and you are known in our little circle of friends as a big-time comic fan, a big-time, X-Men specifically fan. So we're just really happy to have you join us for WandaVision.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Speaking of, how about these 3 episodes of WandaVision, y'all? Like 3 weeks ago, we got together and we had a great time talking about it, but
I mean, I thought they were very slow. Nothing really happened.
Okay. I deserve that based on what I posted in our Slack group earlier. I deserve a little bit of scorn right now. But I just like how we had all these questions, and then episode 4 is like, okay, you know what? We're going to answer like 80% of those, but it's not going to help.
Then you give 80% more questions in addition.
Can I just say, like, I loved episode 4, especially because it was like the Marvel version of Arrival, basically. So I was really, as like, film lover and a lover of that movie in particular, I was just really, having a load of fun. And that episode, I think that answered for anybody who was like, what's happening on this show? We're only, it's like a sitcom, and we're getting like a little bit of plot progression each episode. And then episode 4 was like, here you go.
The first 3 episodes, the when you all did the first 3 episodes, it was last month. I think it was it Steven that predicted that the mystery arm was Darcy?
Yes.
Heck yeah, Steven. I did not see that coming at all. I was very, as someone who has read most of the comics and is a big comic fan, I just kind of have this like fear of coming on here and just going, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. I have no idea.
Steven, you must have said that when I had my headphones out, because
I think so. Yeah. I think so. When we had our brief, like spoil everything, and it's because I knew that Kat Dennings was in the show.
Okay. Awesome. Okay.
So it wasn't like a blind pull. If it was, that would be awesome.
It's one of those, when it did happen, I was like, oh, kudos to Steven. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Did not see that.
Steven.
Wow. Yeah. He really nailed that one arm.
Maybe just one kudo, because, like I said, I had foreknowledge. Like I knew that, what's his name? The Asian actor. I'm sorry, I can't think of it right now. That plays Jimmy Woo. Like I knew Jimmy Woo very well. You know what? I'm gonna look it up. I've got the
Randall Park.
Randall Park.
See,
Randall Park.
I think I remember hearing way back that he was announced as part of the cast, but I'd forgotten. So when he showed up, that was a very pleasant surprise. And I love the callback to Ant-Man with the card trick.
The business card, yeah, that was pretty cool. I was like, there, he did the thing. He did the thing.
Yes.
And my understanding is Randall Park actually learned to do that. Like he actually learned to do that kind of card trick. So.
It was really good CGI, if not.
And I will say that like the Ant-Man movies have been some of my favorite parts of the MCU. So I really love that they brought him in, and you're getting to see these sort of quote unquote lower tier supporting characters take the spotlight in an expanded series where we really get to know them. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
my question is, like, we saw him at there is like he had someone in witness protection in there. So my question was like, okay,
when I rewatched them today, I was like, oh, wait a second, who's the person? Because that completely I forgot about that the first time through.
It goes past you the first time, but I caught it on rewatch, and I'm like, I better write this
something
down.
Something on rewatch I caught as well is they just keep sending drones in. Are they coming back? Are the drones ever coming back? Or they just kind of like have this inexhaustible fund for just drones?
That's their thing. They're not doing any manned expeditions or anything right now. So they're doing like all this kind of remote technology, so it is. So they put a lot of money into drones. That's what they're known for, I think. Because Jimmy asked about that, I think, the first episode, not the third episode. The fourth, whenever he gets introduced. Yeah, at the line, the fourth episode.
Yeah.
She's specifically sent for because she's got the drone,
And one of the Marvel is really good at like the details, and like the little things like this are going to matter. Like this person in witness protection is going to end up being important. There's just no doubt in my mind.
Absolutely. Makes me want to go back like, okay, who does the FBI have in witness protection? Who does Jimmy Woo have in witness protection? I want to go back and watch Ant-Man now.
Right. The only person,
right?
whoever is put up on the board that they have in episode 4, I'm pretty sure none of them are the people that Jimmy Woo was looking for. And you'll also notice they were able to attach IDs to all of those people, but not for Agnes. Agnes is the one character that does not have an ID attached when they put her face up on the board.
Yeah.
And also, I, as another possibility, I didn't see the nice lady who's afraid of bunnies. Not in the show. But.
Yeah. I saw an interview with her recently where she didn't make the connection herself, but then everybody started tweeting at her about the bunny thing, you know?
Dottie. Oh, Dottie.
I actually, Egg on the Six says Dottie's not on the board, right? Actually, I think she is.
Oh, is she? Okay.
I didn't notice it either.
You have to go back and watch.
Dang. Her real name isn't Emma Frost, is it?
Ooh, she would be a great Emma Frost.
I know, right? Man.
So wait, since we've just mentioned an X-Men character, can we talk about the Thing?
Sure.
What thing?
You know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and bury the lead. We're 15 minutes in. We've covered the basics. Yeah, the holy shit moment from the end of season 5.
Oh my god! So we're just jumping into. Man. Okay. My
but
brain
it's
doesn't
just
work like this.
I mean, like there is no way to overstate like what a thrill this was for me watching it, because you all know I have a tendency to be grouchy about the MCU.
What?
Yeah.
What?
But the implication.
Oh my gosh.
But the implication of and I know it's, you know, we're seeing that it's much more complicated than it's just like, oh, it's that version of Quicksilver, you know, put into this. It's not quite that. There's some intricacies to what's actually going on, but the implication that side of Marvel is going to be integrated into the fabric of the MCU, maybe as a, you know, we're getting into the multiverse, so maybe they're establishing that all of that stuff happened in a, you know, a parallel universe version of, you know,
grab him from over there.
It's like, that is so thrilling. It also means that I have to take back some things that I've said, because does that technically mean that all those X-Men movies that I do actually really love are gonna technically now be MCU movies?
Here's the thing. Maybe not all of them, but any of them could be. Like that's the real like mind-blowing implication is that we could have Sophie Turner show up in the MCU as Jean Grey.
With a better director.
With a better director.
The fact that they could have picked anybody to play like a recast Quicksilver, that particular actor, yeah.
Which, and it definitely was so thrilling because, like, if, you know, there's a lot of issues with, I would say, most of, you know, people can say what they want about the X-Men franchise as a whole. It is kind of a mixed bag, although I think that that the better ones are strong.
We will say whatever we want, John.
Yeah. But I think that the best of those films, you know, make up for the lack thereof of some of the weaker entries. But in particular, the newer films with the younger cast, most of them have been misses. But one of the very strong points about that cast has been Evan Peters as Quicksilver. He's just an absolute joy to watch. So when I saw him pop up in this, I was like, oh my God, that's so great. Yeah, it's just such a joy to see him playing, you know, the role in this world. And you know, because I am such a big fan of that franchise, to have it integrated into the MCU, just it's like that missing piece that I was always feeling, that kept me at kind of arm's length from the MCU, and to know that can now be part of the fabric of this universe that's been built up. I am just thrilled to no end.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get the integration of the mutants into the whole mutant verse into the MCU verse. I'm ready for that. Oh.
I'm beyond ready as well. This was, when it comes to just the introduction of, I guess, the mutant gene, or as Darcy put it, Monica's cells were being rewritten on a molecular level. Is that how we're going to get the mutant gene?
Because
as far as the expansion, yes, it's. I was like, now that please don't tell me that this means every mutant is going to be from New Jersey. Please do not tell me that. That is, I can't handle that.
Okay.
We don't know how it's going to end.
Hey,
no, yeah, not picking on New Jersey. Where's Laura? Where's Laura? Is she in the chat?
I don't know if Laura's in the chat or
not.
So much love, Laura.
I will say, Stephen, because when I asked the question, does this mean that all those X-Men films will become part of the fabric of the MCU? And you said, well, at least some of them. But what I'm excited about is the notion of that they would essentially bring all the films under the umbrella of the MCU by virtue of it's part of the multiverse, because we already know they're going to be doing that with Spider-Man because they're bringing in the former actors into the next installment. So I see this as a way to really, aside from the storytelling possibilities, to really appease fans of all these different iterations of Marvel and to bring it all together into one beautiful, tapestry. So I think it's amazing.
That is a nerdgasm. Those moments are just make every nerd, every geek just absolutely just.
Yeah, just.
This I don't know, like I don't like. There's some artwork up here on my wall. It's a picture of Smaug and Bilbo, but Bilbo is referring to Smaug as he was summoned by a psychopath, and then Smaug says, I'm actually a high-functioning sociopath. That is a Sherlock reference.
Yes, it is.
In a Hobbit art form. I cannot resist stuff like this.
Yeah, especially since the actors.
Yes, this is what I need. In Multiverse of Madness, I need Agent Ross, that's Martin Freeman's character, right? Agent Ross, to show up, and I need he and Doctor Strange to have a moment. I just need that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please. But I think Evan Peters was hired specifically for Schmeagol and Schmaug. So when it comes to Evan Peters, he does have a tattoo of Mom on his shoulder. So we do think it stands for Multiverse of Madness. Just kidding. But no, that is a real tattoo on his shoulder. It does say Mom. He was only hired for his tattoo.
Yeah, right. I'd like John Noble.
That's canon. That's canon now, Kelly.
I'd like John Noble to just pop up as an expert on the multiverse and how quantum mechanics works and explain.
Oh my gosh, is this a Fringe?
And how this will, you can take people from one side to the other and then just leave.
Yes.
That would be my little.
No, and on the one hand, I do feel like I'm jumping the gun a little bit by getting too excited about the possibilities of like integrating everything, under one umbrella. But on the other hand, you know what? Why not? Might as well have fun while I can. I know that Aemy and I were joking around that since they've already dipped into the animation area with the multiverse with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, so her and I are now just like on board with the idea that X-Men, the animated series, is also now part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because why not?
Look, all of them are. You've got Earth 616, you've got Earth Prime, you've got
1504. Earth 1504.
I know the one for the MCU actually is Earth some number as well. I don't know the number, but they all do exist together in a multiverse.
And it means anything is possible.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, with all those properties coming back under the Marvel Studios umbrella, it really is like the world is their oyster, and they get to do whatever they want with it. And I, for one, really loved how they've used it in this show specifically, because this is our first taste of how they might utilize some of these properties that have not been under the Marvel Studios umbrella. And they played it so beautifully with, she answers the door we don't see. then we see the back of the head, and we're like, it is Pietro. And then we see him and like, yay, wait, what?
They fooled me because I had heard talk of that Evan Peters might, be on the show, and that there was speculation that he might be Quicksilver. But then I saw the freaking back of the head, and I said, no, that's the other guy. And then they actually show him. I'm like, oh shit!
Just with weird hair, right?
Yeah,
but yeah.
And who's the other actor's name?
Aaron
Taylor Johnson.
Yeah.
Aaron Taylor Johnson. I have to say, I did get a real kick out of. There's another reference in the Halloween episode where Wanda says "kick ass," which is of course a reference
that is something that Stephen pointed out to me. I'm sorry, I've never seen the movie Kick Ass, Stephen pointed that out to me.
Yeah, somebody in the chat mentioned that the two Pietros were in Kick-Ass.
Yes.
Was that right?
Yeah, they were basically best friends.
That's right. He was. How did I miss that? I completely forgot about that.
Aaron Taylor Johnson was Kick-Ass, and his best friend was Evan Peters.
Yeah. And that's hilarious because I had never picked up on that connection before, that they were both Quicksilver and they were both in that movie.
My only thing was that little kid just said Kick-Ass. and I just considered his mother like going kick ass, like, but the way she said it was like, now? It was kind of like a wink wink nod. Just
I know, and I was like, hey, so okay, there.
But again, I didn't catch that. I just thought she's just fussing because her, she's thinking Uncle is having a bad influence on the kids.
You think?
Yeah.
Now,
it's definitely a plot element. We'll just put it that way. He's stirring the pot.
Can we? When can we speculate, John? What are the parameters, please?
Well, hold on. I'm not done talking about Kick-Ass.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Now, is that Image or Vertigo Comics? Because it's not Marvel.
Yeah, but you can say the word kick-ass, I don't think there's a copyright.
But that's as far as it went also, is because they actually do not have any rights to that film property, but unofficially, Kick-Ass in the multiverse?
I don't think so. but I like your, the scope of what you're thinking. Because I'm on board with Nessie. Like, it's not even a comic book. But I want Walter from Fringe to come in and be a part of it. I say bring everybody in.
Cross over all the things, please.
Yeah, I mean,
if they recast,
Patton Oswalt foresaw this. Bring in all the different major
friends. Hey man, we just grabbed characters from any multiverse show. Rick and Morty going to show up next episode.
Oh my God, yes, please.
Bring in anybody, and we will reference anything they have ever been in ever.
Okay.
Steven, now I'm not going to be satisfied unless Rick and Morty actually do pop up, Steven. God.
Steven does not set the standards.
Never have.
I know, right? I mean, I wouldn't mind if you did. Just saying.
Good point, Aegon. It's just wide open.
Oh yeah. Egg 6 dropping some wisdom here. And he's right. Everything has always been fair game for Marvel.
And I can't remember when I heard this, but I feel like it was fairly recently, meaning like in the past year or so, that there was speculation that that somebody was entertaining the idea of bringing back a reboot of X-Men the Animated Series. And I just think of if they actually did that and integrated it into the larger MCU, I'd be freaking out. I think that would be amazing.
One of our patrons, Kraken Tacos, actually has a really great question here. When Wanda and Vision argued about that reality, is that Wanda confronting herself about what she is doing, or does Vision enter into the argument? And really, that's a bigger question about the nature of Vision's existence right now. Is he her subconscious? Is he a separate living thing? Is he an animated corpse with some degree of autonomy? That's a really interesting mystery that we still don't have the answer to.
Well, I think my hypothesis about that in our first stream that we did, and I'm still thinking along these lines, is that it started off where she was he wasn't fully self-aware in the beginning. I think he's becoming more self-aware as it goes on, and I think that's evident. I think the things that we've seen in the past couple episodes, as far as Vision are concerned, indicate that he's becoming more and more, truly self-aware.
Especially the end of the sixth, especially by the end of the sixth episode, for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a very important element to remember as far as reality versus illusions. But yeah, I can't wait to see how this turns out as far as how independently Vision will go on acting. I didn't that one moment where I think it was in episode 5 when he says, "You can't control me the way you're controlling everyone else," and she says, "Can't I?" And I was like, "Oh, that's very ominous."
Mm.
Thought that was
let's talk about, like, because you were saying this on the first stream, Stephen, and I certainly agreed, and even more so now, is how dark and freaky the show is, because you've got like the canned laughter in the background and stuff, but if anything, it just makes it even creepier as it goes on.
It's almost like nervous laughter,
completely just awkwardly timed laugh track, just kind of forced in there, and it's very off-putting.
That moment in episode 5 when Agnes says, should I take that from the top? And there's this,
it's silent,
scary awkwardness, and the laughter
when they
just
broke the fourth
coming in.
wall.
The babies are quiet. It's completely silent. It just added to that incredible, tense, anxious moment. And then when all the sound does come back, it's kind of shocking. Like, oh, that was missing, and that didn't really. I didn't really notice that until a rewatch. But yeah, when the laughing and the crying, the audience laughter and then the baby's crying kind of comes back in, you realize, oh, everything was completely silent for a moment, as if production on the show had been halted. While Wanda mentally goes through, I guess, these checklist in her head.
Yeah, to me, one of the most jarring moments. Gosh, the end of episode 5 was really a true masterpiece. From at least, as far as the MCU is capable of making a masterpiece, so to speak. The moment of, you can't control me, can't I? She turns and walks out. Credits are rolling, laugh track in the background, and Vision is like, "Nuh-uh, not having this. We're talking about this." And that moment where Vision, and Paul Bettany sells it so well, that anger and desperation of when he screams, "Stop lying to me," and he floats up in the air, and I'm like, I'm not a big fan of like using your physicality in a relationship, I'm like, ooh, gross. But he's got a legitimate reason to be
super powered beings. I think it works.
Like, I can give a pass to him on this one, because he's right. He can tell that things are amiss with Wanda, and that he knows.
Reading that email from Sword, Norm, oh my gosh, bless him. And then when he says he can't remember any of his life before Westview, that's something that I wasn't aware of, that he was, missing all of his memory. And then, of course, the most recent episode 6, when he says, "What's an Avenger?" I just thought, what in the heck is going on here?
Mm-hmm. Kate M has a question. What do we think cataract is? Cataract was the project that was studying Vision's corpse. So a cataract is a thing that obscures your vision. So I think they're trying to make an obscured, controllable version of vision to use as a weapon.
Which
nail head.
Yeah, they brought up that something was when Wanda took Vision's remains, that she violated the Accords because X and Y. One of them was, and
Dr.
also
Hayward
his
does.
wishes.
Yeah, he didn't want his corpse to be used as a.
So yeah, let's talk about how much of a dick Hayward is.
He didn't want to be experimented on, but guys, y'all were experimenting on him. So like pot kettle black in this instance,
Yes.
He maybe wanted to find out that they were experimenting on him, among other things, where he was and that he's being experimented on, and turned into a weapon, which he didn't want that.
Can we talk about patriarchy real quick?
Sure.
Drank.
Drank.
I think one of the agents that addresses Darcy initially says Miss Lewis. She says Dr. Lewis. So I like that little like girl tell him. Girl tell him. And then when
but
I can't remember, Jimmy Woo is introducing Darcy to someone else, but says this is Dr. Darcy Lewis, and I was like, yes, Jimmy. And he brought the coffee. Yes.
I was gonna say a girl couldn't get her coffee, but who brought her? Like,
coffee?
How about that coffee now? Yeah.
And Hayward addresses her.
I just love that. I just love that Jimmy starts off his introduction in the MCU of being a total lame ass with the way he talks to Ant-Man's kid, and he's like doing this whole spiel about your father broke the Sokovia Accords, and he went off with Captain America and a bunch of people, and
he drew on the walls, and now he's in trouble.
Yeah, and the way he so quickly endeared himself to the audience with how odd he is, and now through seeing him, through seeing him again in this, it's like he's now like one of my favorite characters of the whole MCU. He's just so much fun.
Hayward wants to know who's the sassy girlfriend. I think it's Jimmy.
Yeah, okay. That's what I want. Like, if WandaVision gives me what I want going forward, because this is a mini series, it's going to be these 9 episodes, and that's it, which is fine. They're going to tell other stories that will flow out of this one. But one show I'd love to see come out is the comic misadventures of Agent Woo and Dr. Lewis. 2 gay besties solving X-Files style crimes in the MCU.
I like Amy's comment.
But I was kind of thinking that it was, Monica has got her squad now. Monica Rambeau has got her squad, which those 3 going forward would be great.
She's gonna be a superhero, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Constant references to it. Most likely, she's gonna turn into Photon. One of the things that she specifies when she's talking about her aerospace engineer friend.
Okay, somebody asked earlier if we were going to discuss like theories for that. So
I've got my hopes. I've got my hopes.
Okay, so like,
and they're the same as Kate's.
Look, Kelly, we're going to save you for last because you kind of have the most context with the broadest base of comic book knowledge. So I think it might be Jane Foster. That's my best guess. No, because it's not Darcy's friend. It's Monica Rambeau's friend.
Jeez, Steven, get it straight.
Okay, I retract. It's not Jane Foster then.
Well, what if Jane comes in and Darcy's like, oh, Jane?
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm on board for that.
Right, sure. Why wouldn't you be? Like, Natalie Portman is great. So, Nessie, John, either of you have like a thought?
I have no idea.
Okay. One other theory I've heard bandied about is Reed Richards.
That was the one. I knew there was like something in the back of my head. I'm like, and that was it. Because weren't we talking about that in the Slack one night?
Yeah.
No, it was on the Zoom. I remember. Yeah,
it was on Zoom. Kate had a great picture she was showing of John Krasinski.
Yeah.
John Krasinski.
I was just about to say, does that mean John Krasinski is going to be showing up?
Please.
I mean, that would be a great segue to, tie the old universes together.
The guy that was sent into the sewers.
I know that nobody really wants to see this, just because I know that version of them isn't thought of very fondly, but like there would be a certain joy from seeing Chris Evans' version of Johnny Storm show in the MC.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
Just for the casting stunt.
I mean, you can cast whatever actor you want, right?
The guy that they sent into the sewers, his name was Agent Franklin, and I thought, okay, is this like a reference to the child of Reed Richards and Sue Storm? So Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman is a mutant, and he's actually one of the most powerful mutants ever. He's an Omega level mutant. I think his name is Powerhouse, but yeah, he is the child of Reed Richards and Sue Storm, and his name is Franklin. So he's Franklin Richards. And like Maura Lee said, I think it's either Reed Richards or Victor Von Doom.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because they're both brilliant.
Right. They're both brilliant.
Engineers are brilliant.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome, Stephen.
But that would be great too, because it sets up a Fantastic Four either way. Because yes. I mean, I know Doctor Doom is sort of like an evergreen villain in the comics, but he is very tied to the Fantastic Four.
Yes. I think an introduction to anyone in that franchise or that part of the comics is just a good little feeler for what might be on the horizon as far as what we can see from the MCU, and their inexhaustible budget gives them the freedom to have this bravery to try something insane like this show. This show is incredibly brave, in my opinion.
I just want to take a moment to really say I've been ridiculously impressed with the show from the ground up. I think one of my criticisms of the MCU, and obviously plenty of people disagree, but I don't think that they've been very daring artistically and sort of really taking risks and based not just on this show, but everything that I'm seeing from the shows that are in the pipeline, they look visually so interesting as well, which I haven't been that crazy about the visual look of the MCU films themselves, but it seems like they're really kind of going out there and trying some new things. So I'm just super excited about the direction things are headed, and this show was the best possible way to start this sort of new era of the MCU. And I know that WandaVision wasn't originally intended to be the first show out of the gate, but I'm really glad it was, because I think it'll sort of set the tone for the things they're willing to try from here on out.
I think we owe a lot of the gratitude to Taika Waititi for, Thor Ragnarok was bizarre and different, and it was a hell of a leap, and man, did we eat it up. So it was kind of like a confirmation that the fans are ready for something radically different. So bring it on.
Well, as somebody who watched the first Iron Man and went, I love this, and then has been a fan, it's had its ups and downs, especially like I think early phase 2. I was like, you got Thor Dark World, you got Iron Man 3 in there, and I'm just like, I don't know, but Phase 3, I just loved it. You know, like Age of Ultron, not the strongest, although I did rewatch it not too long ago, and it was good. It just didn't quite reach the same level as some of the other ones, in my opinion. But this show is really this show is rewarding me for having been a fan and having watched these films multiple times.
And what I love so much about it is it really is a deep dive into so many of these characters. It's you know, I mean, the whole premise essentially is about the grief that Wanda has been going through, and it's something that we don't get to. I mean, we get to see it in bits and pieces throughout the MCU film, but usually they're about, you know, battling, you know, whoever the big bad of that film is, and, you know, culminating in a big, you know, climactic action sequence and all that. And this has been a chance for them to do something completely different away from that. And it's just been fascinating to get to watch, you know, especially, you know, Wanda and Vision, you know, and Vision most of all, because Paul Bettany, I love Paul Bettany as an actor. I think it's, you know, he's done a remarkable job as Vision, you know, throughout the films, but he has been kind of limited as far as what he gets to play with. And in this show, he has just soared. He has been amazing.
Yeah,
I agree. Both Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany have so much to do in this show. They get to play the comedy. They get to play throughout the decades. They get to try different comedy stylings. They've got the creepy stuff that comes on and the mysterious stuff. And holy crap, when she walks out of the hex, dragging the drone behind her, and like tossed
but the way she deals with all the weapons and stuff, like that felt to me like, I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but that very much felt like a call back to Magneto in the first X-Men movie. And I was like father, like daughter. Hell yeah.
That is the realization that the Maximoff children were Magneto's children comes much later on in the Marvel universe, the comic universe. But I think they specifically, I don't remember if it was episode 4 or 5, I think they specifically mentioned their parents, Irina and Oleg, I think. But also in the comics, they come from a country called Transia and not Sokovia. So I think Transia is a little questionable name for a country now that it's not 1964.
Yeah, it's going to have a different meaning than it did in the 60s or whatever.
Yeah. So,
but what John was saying about the focus on Wanda and what she is going through, as far as a comic book adaptation or movie, an action movie, you know, trauma and grief are usually not at the forefront or a focus. It seems like trauma and grief are the big bad, you know, initially at this moment. I like that when they ask Monica, what's the first thing you remember? What's the last thing you remember? And she says there's pain. And then I heard and she specifically says Wanda's voice in my head. So just a, you know, quick change over to what Norm was saying. Her voice, you know, she's in my head. She's in my head. I'm pretty sure he's talking about Wanda and not anybody else. But Monica says specifically it was hopelessness, drowning, and grief. So they're all, you know, feeling and experiencing everything that Wanda is going through. And the fact that that drone or that missile had Stark Industries written across it, oh my gosh, that was very nasty. I cannot imagine, you know, seeing that as, you know, from Wanda's point of view.
Right. I mean,
I don't know if it was something Hayward did intentionally or what. It was just, you know, a complete jackass move.
I mean,
I don't trust him one bit.
Missile aimed at her, you know, again, you know, after her childhood trauma. And it's just like she's just dealing not only with what's recently happened, in her, but she's like all of the trauma of her life. You know, she was always been struggling with that, even, you know, in like Ultron and especially in X-Men. So, I mean, excuse me, Avengers Civil War, they were just dealing with all of the fallout and trauma from childhood and what's going on with her powers and how she's, you know, oopsied a few times and she's just dealing with.
Yeah. Can we talk about the last commercial?
The
Yo
shark.
Magic.
God,
No, Yo Magic.
Yo Magic.
Yo Magic.
Yo Magic.
These commercials are so freaky.
I mean, I likened the commercials with each of her different traumas or like very bad events that happened in her life. So I was thinking like this one would be something Thanos related, but the Yo Magic definitely took me off guard. So I took it as the people in the neighborhood are starving to death, or you know they're eventually going to die if they don't. Her magic is not sustaining them the way they need it. But I also saw another theory that it's not giving Wanda what she needs emotionally. It's just kind of superficial. Her magic is not going to save her from this grief, this inevitable wave of grief, or in this case, starvation, emotional starvation. What do you guys think?
I think that's a really interesting way to look at it. To me, it is the most confusing of them. The Yo Magic commercial, like it makes the least sense to me. Maybe the previous one, the Lagos one, for a mess you didn't mean to make. I'm just like, eesh.
Yeah, another nail on the head. Yeah.
This one was very weird, and oh my gosh, it took me back because I remember those claymation radical dude, early '90s.
Yeah.
With everything was extreme. That's just, that's how you know it's the '90s.
Yeah. I remember watching
those scenes,
commercials.
Yeah. The scene where Vision is walking down the street and there's ska music playing, I was like, oh, I can't. Oh man, I'm getting dizzy. The flashbacks.
Did you notice the two movies that were playing on the cinema?
Yes, I
one
did.
The Incredibles.
The Incredibles and The Parent Trap.
Right.
I'm like, that's got to have some significance right there.
Okay,
because
so you know what? I'm gonna jump on this. The Parent Trap, maybe less so, but The Parent Trap is about a pair of twins trying to get their parents to reconcile, and we do see a pair of twins and their parents being, I guess it's Billy is Wiccan, right?
Yes.
Right.
Keep in mind his real name is William, so W. Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful actually.
William Wiccan.
He like does that whole Malcolm in the middle, address the camera directly thing.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
But like, Dad aren't getting along right now, and then people will tell you that The Incredibles is the best Fantastic Four movie ever made. So that's another like nod at the Fantastic Four, but it's
dig.
But it's also really. But it's also about a superpowered family learning to come together. So I again, and they're both Disney properties. So, but which means that it was easy for them to put them up there. But they could have chosen any two movies, but they chose those two. And the thing is, they never ran concurrently in the cinema because Parent Trap came out in 1998 and The Incredibles came out in 2004.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I just took it as one of those movie theaters that can show older movies, the 99-cent ones. I had one of those in my neighborhood.
Well, I mean, I wasn't so concerned about if they would have shown consecutive or whatever, had it been the double feature or what have you. But yeah, the fact that it was a family of super powered beings, living and working, and the kids learning how to use their superpowers, and the twins superpowers also come online in this episode, so
AK.
yeah, it was very, very on the head, nail on the head there for me. And the parent trap, one of the parents is trapped in this universe. Wanda is trying to kind of trap Vision there, and Vision is, he's trying to escape in this episode, so gets trapped back in Hex.
I want to address that question.
All right, please do. Phil H asks, why are the kids more self-conscious than other people? Kelly, go.
So keep in mind that Monica points this out, I think, in episode 5, when she goes over and just, shoots her own wardrobe. She's proving that, okay, these scary looking pants, no offense to anyone who grew up in the 70s was digging that fashion, but she proves that, and she points out for a general audience who are not familiar with Wanda's powers, she can literally rewrite reality. So her children, the things that she creates are real. She's not projecting an illusion into someone's brain like she did. And that's something that Pietro or Peter does point out. And it's also something that Darcy and Jimmy and Monica are talking about as well, how absolutely powerful she is. And Darcy does say she has godlike powers. And this is very much very potent. And it's very important to realize her kids are real. So those are two very real and very powerful real things. Most likely, when it comes to her powers, they're independently controlled because of, I think, their own powers, and I think that's why Vision has a little bit more independence as well. But they are not going to adhere to her hex magic, as I like to put it. And also, I love the fact that I think it was Darcy started calling it hex.
Oh my God, I love when she says it's
she
catching
put the TM on that.
And,
yeah.
It's catching on, and then Jimmy goes,
when and how do we think
Monica
powers in the MCU?
So yeah.
So within the world of the MCU, the Reality Stone was used to experiment on her, or she was used as an experimentation. So she was a lab rat, unfortunately. So I think it was the Reality Stone, wasn't it?
That she would know. The Reality Stone
was it the Mind Stone?
It was the Mind Stone, which is the Tesseract. No.
The Mind Stone was in the scepter.
In the scepter.
Yeah,
and it was the scepter. It was the scepter. So it was the Mind Stone. There is a theory out there that Wanda actually has the powers of all the various Infinity Stones. We've seen her control time. We've seen her bend reality.
Even as Thanos, had the glove on, he wasn't, as far as coming. He was not going to submit without that. As Monica put it, the Blitz brought the Blitz on because Wanda was taking him down with or without that gauntlet on.
Yeah,
so,
she said she could have kicked his. What Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher your name. I'm going to say Collie Bear. Once asked when or how do we think Wanda will get those powers in the MCU? Doesn't seem like she always had them, and I agree. But we also see that she is continually learning to develop her powers more and more as she goes along. She becomes much more powerful, even from her introduction in Age of Ultron through the end of Infinity War and Endgame. She's much more powerful.
Pietro points that out as they're sitting there on that little hay bale talking. He specifically talks about putting little wiggly woos in people's heads to what was actually happening.
So
he doesn't address that she's. Yeah. What was that, Nessie?
Crazy theory here. Why not throw some tinfoil out there when all of the quote Infinity Stones were
all right.
At the end of Endgame. Who's to say that power had to just completely dissipate? Who says that? I mean, it wasn't channeled into other entities or beings or what have you that has like an affinity for that type of power. Power abhors a vacuum. So if it had to go somewhere, it could have triggered these types of powers in Wanda, having already been a product of one of them anyway. It could be. Who knows? So
I want to hit on this point that
Okay, go ahead and hit on this point, then we'll do the mid-roll.
That Alicia's making, because that was a very different encounter than when Vision sort of zapped what's his name at the office, because that guy went back to being like scared and like seemed like a normal person. Agnes seemed just as weird, like whether Vision had zapped her or not. So I question whether that actually had any effect on her, or if that was just her putting on some kind of a performance. I don't know what's going on with her.
Yeah, I mean, there is a leading theory about that.
Well, I think it had to do too with where she was, as opposed to where the office guy was. She's all the way out on the edge of Wanda's area of control, meaning her mind is, maybe she's ultra slow, when she came out and she's talking, it's like she's just kind of out of it a little bit and saying, whatever she, it could be because it's like at the far end of Wanda's range or what have you at this point. And then she snaps back and says, "Heidi ho, neighbor," and rolls back into, Agnes mode. Who knows? I don't know.
I don't know. I just didn't necessarily trust what she was saying.
Oh, I don't think you should.
Yeah.
Again, she's the one unidentified person on the board, and there has been a very strong case made for her being a certain character. Kelly knows who I'm talking about. If anybody wants to know, all you have to do is go watch somebody like, just go on YouTube and put in WandaVision Agnes. You'll find it. Somebody made a video about it, and it's a very compelling theory. But for the sake of those people that don't want to have that information, we won't necessarily cover it right here, because I think it's actually almost too strong a case that it would almost feel like a spoiler at this point.
I think, and I'm not going to say specifically, but I think Agnes is in on it, kind of a cross between what John is saying. Like, I think she, was faking it a little bit. I think she's in on it, but I don't know to what degree. The whole fact that I think she was surprised. Yes, but I don't know if she was trying to set him off on purpose. But
that's what I'm saying,
when she finds poor little Sparky and the kids are like, bring him back, Mom, bring him back to life.
It was just weird.
She's like, you can do that? Like, she wasn't fully aware. Like, I think she's in, something's up with her. And I'm pretty sure it's that one theory that Steve and I are referring to. But yeah, like, does she not realize how much power Wanda has, or maybe how much out of control that power might be or is becoming?
Yeah. Interesting stuff, and we'll get back to it in just a minute. But I think it's time for a mid-roll. What do you say, guys? Good time for a mid-roll. We've been going for about an hour. Yes, I'm gonna pull a page out of Amy's book and tell you, we're only halfway done. Stick around. We still got a whole other hour to go.
Don't leave.
So, but yeah, this is the part of the show where I say, please remember to like and subscribe. If you haven't liked the stream, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I would appreciate it very much. So it's time for some plugs.
It would be like down there.
Yes, Kelly, you got it.
All right.
You know what, Kelly? We'll start with you. You've been popping up around the fandom. I know you don't have your own channel yet, but you're going to be hearing on some more streams in the not too distant future. What do you got coming up, Kelly?
Well, apparently, I'm going to be on John Webster Film discussing the film X2, X-Men United. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is never actually, that's not actually ever in the film itself. That was a marketing title. But
okay. All right. So that's going to be sometime in late March where we'll nail down a date. I usually don't announce if I'm going to be on something specifically unless I have a date. Otherwise, it's just like, hey, you want to come record with me? It's like, sure. And then crickets. Don't hear from them. So I will definitely be on March 10th. I will be on Bleep the Patriarchy with Nessie and Aemy Blackfyre discussing patriarchy and misogyny on board ships and sailor superstitions.
Bleep it, y'all.
Okay, so something else.
You guys, she is a noted nautical nerd.
Nautical nerd. I will also be, speaking of, so another one that I wanted to announce, but no date has been set yet. So Through the Moon Door, or Jonas or Yogi, I will be appearing on his podcast at some point. Again, this is not something that I announced until I wanted to announce until I got a date. But apparently it was announced last night on Jawoof. And I was just like, again, it was two instances where I was like, okay, when can I, so I get like, pen and paper. I need to put this on the calendar. So it was just kind of one of those things where I'm going to be on podcasts in the future, technically in the future. But I go by Kelly, or Jaded Redhead on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. Search for Kelly Lowry or Jaded Redhead or Bonnie Lass Lowry. But yeah, I do not have a YouTube channel or a podcast.
Yeah,
I do not have plans to. There's nothing in.
It'll be called Boats.
Yeah.
Yogi actually came up with like a list of brilliant pun-tastic titles for a potential podcast.
And my favorite one in the chat right now.
Jaded Redhead.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to wherever you show up next, Kelly, because it's always a joy to have you on here to talk about stuff, and it's always fun to watch you talking about whatever it is you've got going on everywhere else.
Thank you, and again, thank you for inviting me. You're
welcome. Nessie, what's going on over there at the Unspun Yarn?
Oh, well, you know how it is, Stephen. Let's see. Of course, Kelly has already mentioned that she's going to be coming on my channel for officially on the 10th of March. Yeah, bleep ahoy. Weird, I know. Kind of cheesy, but that's how I am. February 24th, Aemy is going to be coming on, and we're going to be discussing another installment of the Magical Menagerie. We're going to be talking all about the Phoenix, both Eastern and Western. So you'll learn some things about that. And 24th of March, we've got probably the final installment of the Legends of Avalon series. And Lady Gwen's going to be coming on the channel and discussing her namesake, the once and future Queen Guinevere. And invite Kelly on your channel, people. She's brilliant.
And she brings in the views.
Date when you do it. Okay, John, how about you? Heard you had a big announcement yesterday.
Yeah, so because I don't have any more time to myself, we're changing things up a bit over on John Webster Film, which is Aemy and I are transitioning over to being a podcast. You will still be able to find video versions of our episodes, which we will post on the channel. But Cinematic Realms will officially be turning into a podcast that'll be starting the week after next. Next week, we're having AK on for our final live stream to talk about the film, The Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. So come go ahead and check us out. That'll be next Saturday at 7 p.m. And then the week after that will be sort of an introductory podcast episode which you'll be able to watch. And then we're going to dive into a whole bunch of fun movies after that, starting with The Wizard of Oz. So exciting times ahead. It's going to be different, but we're very excited.
Right on. And I will say that on Here Be Dragons, next week, I will be returning to the I Know That Nerd series. And I'm just going to randomly pick someone right now. I'm going to go that lady right there. Nessie will be my guest next week for I Know That Nerd. Now, as far as guests on I Know That Nerd go, you're going to be one that I know a little bit better than most. So we might get into we really might get into the weeds.
Yeah, it could happen. We got a little way back going on.
Yeah, so that ought to be a really, really fun one. Also, gotta make sure we shout out the patrons. Our patrons are led by the High Council, including Lord John Bronsteen the Wise, aka Bronte, Sixto Sounds, aka JP the Axe Grinder. Saw him in the chat earlier. I know you're not here live a whole lot, buddy, but always nice to see you pop in when you get the chance. And of course, our alpha patron, ridiculous Ed Tollett. We love you guys, and they are supported by the lords and ladies of the realm, including Lady Leaf Underhill and Aemy Blackfyre, lover of poles. So yeah, join us next. Thanks, patrons, for all that you do to help keep things floating. And it's not just me that benefits from it. John, Nessie, and Aemy also benefit from it. We all use the same StreamYard account, and you guys are helping pay for it. So thank you so much. Yeah, come back next week. Nessie's going to be my guest on I Know That Nerd. Don't really have anything planned for the week after that, but the week after that will be the WandaVision wrap-up, because it will be the end of the series, and I'm really looking forward to that. If you have something, an idea for a subject you'd like us to cover, by all means, you can send requests. There's no guarantee that we'll get to any of it, but you can send requests. I will say, I started watching The Boys this week, and I have, that show is tough to watch sometimes, but it is quite good, and I loved it. Danny McKay says Dragonlance. There's no way I'm going to read all the Dragonlance novels in the next 2 weeks. Sorry, buddy. It's not my area of expertise. You know what, though?
I would love to talk about Dragonlance, but it has been so long that I would actually have to probably do some rereading myself. So that's something that would have to be. We'd have to plan ahead.
I would have to dig through some stuff to find my books, but I mean, I'd have to find them, but they do exist somewhere over at my dad's house in a box, maybe. Probably.
Taco Man, you just need to drop your request where I'm sure to find it. You know where to find me on Twitter and all that. Also, everybody's Twitter links are down in the description. Wait a minute. I actually think I didn't put your link in the description, Kelly, in my rush this morning. I know.
It's okay.
Look, I almost never forget that stuff.
It's almost as if you were too busy doing something else.
Like being a dad to my teenage daughter, you're right.
Or shit talking all the people.
I did that too. For those of you that don't know, we do have a Slack group. By the way, if you want to join our Slack group, just let me know. Send me a DM on Twitter or something, or John or Nessie. We'll get you in.
In every sense of the word, Slack.
Yeah, in the spirit of Valentine's Day. Oh, there it is. Buckaroo Banzai. A while to get it to. You know what? I might do that just as like a weird. It's been so long, I don't remember anything about that movie. Anything. But yeah, I did put a post in our Slack group where I was like, in the spirit of Valentine's Day, let's rank and rate our friends. So I need a 1 through 10 list of who's the most lovable here. And boy, did it go over like a church of French bowl. exactly like I intended.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't check Slack after a certain time then. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Are my feelings going to be hurt if I check it like right now?
No, it's all in good fun. Come on. It's clear.
AK, once you start,
you won't stop.
Yeah, you won't stop.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to discourage you, but
you will make the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of the people who are regulars in the chat are also regulars in the Slack group. So we hang out all the time. We have an ongoing Zoom call where we just get together and have a good time. So yeah, join our Slack group. Again, you can just DM one of us on Twitter. We'll take it from there and we'll get you in.
Yeah. All we need is an email address and.
Yep. I see you leave. Okay.
I'm looking forward to this.
So anything else we need to cover in the mid-roll, or are we going to get back to WandaVision?
I think that's
okay. Great. Where do we want to start coming back in?
So where did the dog come from? That was a question that popped up right before we went to the mid-roll. People were like, a couple of people were asking about the dog. I mean, it's an unexpected thing. See, unexpected things are happening, like when Pietro showed up at the door. It was like Wanda didn't realize that, she didn't control that. So, and then when the boys are washing the dog in the sink, she's like, I didn't make this freaking dog. Where'd this dog come from? And why is it in my sink? So it's like,
I think maybe the boys thought of it. I think maybe Billy or Wiccan had a hand in it. I mean, however old they were at the beginning of the scene.
Fine.
Can't say during the scene, but at the beginning of the scene, what kids don't want a puppy at that age?
Well, true. And of course, Agnes is looking through the windows, like that nosy neighbor, and just happens to have this dog house. It's like, just bringing one by as you do, Yeah. I'm not sure if there's not something else like injecting things into this reality outside of Wanda.
See, that's what I think. Like, so there's this point where, Monica gets ejected by Wanda, and she's like, it's Wanda, it's all Wanda. I think that's her understanding, but even she is not completely sold on the fact that Wanda is doing this out of malicious intent or anything like that.
Yeah.
Is Wanda in control of like what people are seeing? But she is not the one, and she'll even tell you, like, she doesn't know how it started. She doesn't remember. So I don't think she is the primary victimizer, as Hayward says.
Yeah. Yeah. And why Westview out of, everywhere? Just this random town in New Jersey, or was it close to where,
that's what I think. I think
facility was.
So there is in New Jersey. Is it Fort Lehigh? Which is where they were probably doing the Project Cataract Vision experiments. So it was probably just close and quaint and fit her needs and was not far. And
or did she have a friend that lived there? Or did she know somebody? I don't know. Did she know somebody there? It just seems kind of weird that she picks this town that this quote unquote somebody has is under what's the witness protection. I mean, yeah, that could be anywhere, just it's and if it's Agnes that was the witness in protection, is there some kind of, I don't know. I mean, it was just kind of random that she happens to pick the town that this agent has someone in witness protection, which draws attention to it right away. But I mean,
I don't have a theory. I have no idea.
Yeah. And when, when Pietro shows up, yeah, she was talking and thinking about her brother before, because the kids are asking, did you have a brother, Mom?
Mm-hmm.
And she starts to think about him and talk about him. And, is it just wishful thinking, or, and whose body is it? Because everybody else that's been a character on the show is a local person who's just given this new identity, and he just shows up, and he's not. I don't know if he's like an original townsperson or not. Or he just snatched him from somewhere else, like John.
Pietro. I got some theories.
Okay, now are these are theories, not like they're just theories.
Spoilers.
The thing is, I don't know what's going to happen, so I don't know if they are.
It's a theory, not a spoiler. If you don't know what's going to happen,
so I don't think that's a Pietro, even though it is Pietro from another universe. I think,
or technically,
I think whatever is powering, or the entity behind whatever is inside Pietro.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's her brother.
You think he has a different identity?
Yep.
You think he's just taken on the Pietro persona because Wanda starts testing him.
Some of the there's some things that are said, just little phrases here and there, and it's just like, all right, come on, like the clues are there. Poor little Billy thinks that Uncle Pietro is a vampire.
He's a vampire.
And Billy is, Billy has very, very, very similar powers to Wanda. I liked that he was their powers kind of manifested in that last episode where Speed, or Tommy, he's like, I've got super speed, and then Billy is able to stop him when he hears Vision in trouble, and because Tommy goes, whoa. I thought that was a cool moment.
This guy even got like little blue glow around his hand when it happens.
Yeah, they and this is something that I had to catch on a rewatch with the captions on. Something that Pietro yells when he jumps up and scares the kids. He says, I think blood is thicker than water. I had to because I had to rewind it. I was just like, he's yelling something. I was like, but whatever he's yelling, it's important. So blood is thicker than water.
You gotta go rewind it.
Yeah, and then when they're about to go trick or treating, and he says, "Go demon spawn."
Yeah, right.
I was like,
right.
Yeah,
I was like, and I literally said out loud, "Well, that's a little on the nose."
Isn't it though?
Sorry, John.
Yeah, but that's not revealing too much, but because even that could be a total misdirect, because they know how people overanalyze these shows.
Yes.
People that make them. Mm-hmm. So they're going to sprinkle
just
in
an Easter egg.
Some misdirects.
It could just be an Easter egg, like a little nod to other things, instead of an actual, whatever.
I've seen some theory videos where they're pointing out things in the background here and there, and it gets a little too much, a little excessive. I'm like, all right, I think that's reaching quite a bit, but I just want to say this, okay? In House of M, a lot of the Avengers and the mutants thought that Magneto was controlling Wanda. It was Magneto who made Wanda create this alternate reality. It wasn't Magneto. It was Pietro.
Mm.
There was so that was kind of a misdirect in the comics. And it was, but the thing is, it was because Pietro loved her so much. And in the comics, so this is something that in episode 6, Pietro says, you always were the more empathetic twin, which in the comics is actually not true. I always took Pietro as in the comics, he was always the one that cared for the innocent, more so. And we're okay, like going back to like 66, early like Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Magneto leaves a bomb to detonate on an island, as a distraction to escape. Pietro or Quicksilver goes back and disassembles it, or deactivates it, because he cannot take innocent people suffering or being killed because of it. And that's kind of one of those initial things where it's like, okay, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants are evil. Like, are they really evil? Magneto, yeah. Quicksilver, maybe not so much.
Yeah, but like you can't take the way things are in the comics as
true.
indicative as what things are in the MCU. They can give you clues, but just as a for instance, we talk about like Earth 616. I know is the primary world of the comic books. The MCU is Earth 199,999, or 200,000 less one. So that's a long, like if they're stacked side by side, that's a long way off from the primary timeline.
As someone who has read the comics, I think I don't know what's happening. I have some theories, but the MCU is so far off, as with any adaptation. Things are going to be different. So it's like, I have some insight, but seriously, I don't know what's going on. And I don't know what's going to happen. I have some hopes of what might happen.
I think it's interesting when you're having the conversations between Wanda and Pietro, because he's kind of like in on her game. He's like, oh, this. It's like he has knowledge of what's going on around her. Not that other quote characters in WandaVision don't. So I don't want to say it's like breaking the fourth wall again, but it's like he's in on it. He's in on the fix or whatever. So he knows more about what's going on than Vision does, because he's like, I'm the fun uncle, because they're referencing the sitcom situation. I'm the fun uncle who comes in, gives my brother-in-law grief, stirs up trouble with the kids. That's my role. So he's kind of breaking that.
Yeah, he literally says that's what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
He acknowledges that's what Wanda wanted him to do, but he also is experiencing things differently than Vision. So they both died, but Vision does not remember anything before Westview. Pietro remembers getting gunned down in the street.
So he says. I think. Just the way he said, I'm not like anybody else. You can, talk to me. There's this part in the back of my head that says he could be a lot more sinister than he's presenting. So,
thank you, John.
So I don't necessarily, take what he says at his word as far as what he remembers. He could be claiming,
but I guess that's the point, though. That's the point, though, is that whether or not he actually remembers, there is an indication that whatever is going on with Pietro is different to what is going on with everyone else.
Yeah, he shows up, when Wanda and Vision are having. I'm sorry, he shows up. He shows up. The doorbell rings when Wanda and Vision are having this argument. And Vision is like, oh, that's just like another one of your distractions looks. And Wanda's like, hey, it wasn't me. This time I didn't do this. And either she's lying to Vision, which who knows, maybe she is or she isn't, but it's possible. But she does seem to look surprised that this has happened. And she really looks surprised, when she sees the face in the door. So it's like his introduction into it was something that was either unforeseen by her, or she doesn't realize she did it, or like, something else has put him there. some
I like
other
what
entity is
Matthew
putting
says in the chat. I like that comment as far as agency. But also when they're having that discussion, he kind of talks down the morality question of what Wanda is doing. He's like, no, this is great. I'm impressed. She's like, you don't think it's wrong? And he's like, no. And it's just like, like there's, you know, I was like,
about the kids. Right?
Yeah,
they're talking
like,
about the kids.
Where do these kids come from? Like, where, you know, but
how'd you do it? Were they just asleep in their bed all the time?
And he specifically tells her when he makes that callback to, which I absolutely loved this little scene of them trick-or-treating in Sokovia. I thought that was really cute.
And then she says, that's not quite how I remember it.
And he says, you suppressed your trauma, obviously, or you, something like that. It's like, oh, you're, you know, clearly you've got trauma suppressed or whatever. And it's just like, again, right on the nose.
Very on the nose right there, you know?
Yeah, I just love how this show can go from, like, we're laughing to, we're really trying to figure this thing out to, that's creepy, you know? Like, and then it like repeats the cycle and then plays the Uno reverse and goes back the other way. Like, it has really been fantastic the way they have chopped up genres, thrown them in a blender, and just made this mess of, not a mess, but like a blender. You know, they're blended together in a way that's really unique and interesting. Like,
well, yeah, I definitely don't want to use that word, you know, a mess, because I see a very carefully constructed vision, which, you know, I love the fact that this show has been spearheaded by one director, and there's a very clear cut vision throughout the whole season. No pun intended. But just it's so artistically well, like, conceived and executed in a way that I think is very. Not that there haven't been a couple of projects in the MCU films, you know, you guys mentioned like Thor Ragnarok and things like that had, you know, very unique styles and all that, but the fact that we're getting to spend so much time with the story and things are really being explored, and you can get those intricacies of, you know, going in wildly different directions stylistically at different moments, and I just feel like it's something that the MCU has never really been able to do before.
Yeah, it is very, it's very precise. Everything, every word, every prop, every scene is precisely placed, and it's so sharp. I love how precise and sharp everything is when it comes to telling the story, and I think the pacing is really well done with the juxtaposition of what's going on inside the hex, as you know, what's going on at that sword base, especially with, you know, these last 3 episodes where sword has been finally introduced.
Yeah, we've seen little hints, but now we're like, okay, let's pull back the curtain and see what the wizard actually looks like.
Yes.
So, and
it's Tyler Hayward. Ugh. Close the curtain. It's fine. I'm good.
She's showing Monica at the beginning, you know, her reconvincing.
That was brilliant.
Right. Yeah. Post snap for, you know, Blake or whatever, however, when everybody starts coming back.
And this is the stuff that I really wanted. This is taking something that, you know, when we originally saw stuff with the, you know, the snap or the blip, as it's called, just like it was seen in such a large stroke view of, you know, here's the major Marvel characters and it's within this apocalyptic, you know, this sort of frame. But what stuff like this does is it takes it down to such a personal, small level of a daughter sitting next to her, you know, her mother's bed in the hospital, and she comes back after having disappeared for 5 years, and her mother's not there, and she's frantically looking for her. And, you know, it's not carefully composed shots. The camera is matching her emotional state. And like, that is the stuff that I want. That's personal. That's, really getting into the minds of characters. And that's why I've just been enjoying the hell out of the show.
And you really,
I do
really
like to cut to ground level chaos that we would, if that were to happen in the real world, that's what we would deal with.
Yeah. I'm just thinking like it's in a hospital, and that's like a chaotic type of place anyway. Hashtag trademark. Yeah.
Nessie would know.
Like chaotic. It's anyway, and you've got people just coming back. Just here's a person just start materializing, putting back together. And I cannot imagine the chaos, the level of chaos that is going on at that moment when people are just starting to return. We saw the grief counseling and whatnot after, that people were dealing with, just like a scene here, a scene there, people, like John said, like main characters dealing with people who are gone. But this is just out and out the real world. This is how things happen. Like, did you say you bleeped when you were in a plane? Do you rematerialize like 30,000 feet in the air? Is that how that?
Yeah.
People come back where and when, where exactly you were when you left, and how crazy that could be.
I think because they came back when Hulk snapped, and they were pretty clear that they wanted everybody to come back safely. And you'll notice there weren't people materializing inside of other people. And in a hospital, the beds are going to be
that's true
time anyway. So I think, and I mean, like, come back safely. You might be safe if you're 30,000 feet in the air and then fall to your death. But like, so who knows? Who really knows?
If we had actually seen two people rematerializing like inside one another, that would have made for a very different opening. It would have added some extra
another rating.
That's a Fringe episode. That's a Fringe episode.
Well, there you go, Walter. Where are you? I also want to say about just on a slightly different topic, Hayward, because I did want to talk about, because it seems set up that he's like got this ulterior motive and maybe he's the one pulling the strings, but I think that he's actually, my thought at this moment is that he's actually reporting to somebody else, because that message that Vision sees, in the form of the old computer email, I actually think that message comes from Hayward, and he's actually reporting to somebody. Now, why that message ends up on the computer at the office, I haven't quite figured that out yet, but yeah, I was wondering what you guys thought about that, like about the message and and what Hayward's game might be.
It's not a bad theory.
I
hadn't considered it.
Well,
I actually think that the email was sent directly to Vision.
I think so too. I mean, they've seen him in the shots. They know he works in an office. They know he works with computers. We're using quote 80s technology to get email or what have you in there. So yeah, they probably send him just a good old email from.
But as far as what is Hayward's sort of end game, I don't think it's a stretch to say he's trying to weaponize Vision in some way. And I wonder if that is making Sentinels.
I certainly can. He seems to be looking for any reason to start a fight. He seems very apt to do that.
Well, okay, here's a sort of out there theory. I don't even necessarily know if I sort of think this is the case, because it would be really odd, and I'm not sure how it would work. But okay, so let's think that he sends the message to Vision on purpose. Vision talks about to Wanda, I think maybe you only recently became aware you were doing this. Could Vision be playing a more active role in all this than we think? And Hayward or whoever is sending those messages could be reporting directly to Vision. because it says awaiting like further instruction or something. So could Vision actually be doing things that or controlling things that he's not even aware of?
I don't know. Plausible. Like there's still so much that this is all just theory where we're like, could it be this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I can't think of a reason why not. Just add it to the pile of things that it could be.
The amount of questions that we have as far as how much control he has, Vision himself, or is it Wanda? We still, that question, we still have that.
Well, and Hayward also says something else when Vision's trying to, he says he really does want to get out of there, doesn't he? There's different ways to interpret that line. If he's actually been in communication with Vision in some capacity through the messaging, that would have one sort of connotation, or the other is it's just sort of his own thoughts about about what's going on. But I don't know. I had a lot of like rewatching this today. I had a lot of sort of left field. Maybe it could be this, maybe it could be that, or maybe. So I'm really just looking forward to the next episode, which once again answers like 80% of these questions for us.
Yeah, right. I'm sure that's how it's going to be. We're going to like lay out all these questions, and episode 7 is going to be like, here's 80% of the answers. But wait, there's more questions, because that seems to be the way.
I have all of the questions now, all the questions ever. The introduction of Pietro at the beginning of episode 6, where it says starring Wanda Maximoff and Vision, and introducing Tommy and Billy, and then Pietro as himself. It's like, what does that mean? Why wasn't he just Pietro Maximoff, or introducing Pietro, but as himself?
As himself.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
My brain.
Well, he does have the ability to affect things within the hex, because he's able to reach into, and like free the citizens, their consciousness momentarily to interact with him. He is able to do that. So he has, and it's got to be against. I mean, Wanda really wouldn't want him to be doing all these things. So it's not like she's controlling him, and it's things she wants him to do or subconsciously wants him to. He's doing these things on his own. Things that Wanda definitely would not want him to, be engaged in. Especially like going all the way out to Ellis Avenue. She specifically tells the kids to stay away from Ellis Avenue during the trick-or-treating, and that's the dark neighborhood that Vision finds himself in, where Agnes is sitting there at the intersection of Rolling Hills, I think, and Ellis Avenue.
Named for President Ellis, yes.
And President Ellis was named for Warren Ellis.
Yeah. Who was an artist, comic book artist?
I think he was a writer.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know my sort of like comic. Sorry.
There was the episode where Vision straight up tells Wanda, like, I broke your hex, or your your hold on Norm to speak directly to him. And so the fact that she's aware of this, she's aware that he can do that. I think collectively, whoever might be affecting Wanda or potentially controlling Wanda is now aware of this. So hence Agnes was able to kind of put on that front, possibly, like John was talking about earlier, like acting it up a little bit about the spell being broken when she gets touched.
Because it didn't seem the same as when Norm.
It was just another version of weird.
Yeah, it's
a whole other level of weird.
There was one. I'm sorry, I cannot remember the the theory video I saw, but when she does this, and they mentioned that she was searching for her necklace,
her brooch that she
yes,
wears all the time.
yeah. So of course I didn't catch any of that stuff. She was like, she was looking for it. Was that consciously done or subconsciously done? When she was acting like she's has this self-awareness now bombarding her, and she's like, where am I? What's going on? You're an Avenger.
Yeah.
What's an Avenger?
Yeah.
What's an Avenger? You know,
that broke my heart.
I keep there's this one snippet from episode 6 that keeps coming back into my head, and it breaks my heart and terrifies me every time. I have this image of the woman trying to string the thing up and stuck in a loop, and you see that single tear rolling down her cheek, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that is like, can you imagine what it would be like to be that person where like the only way you can express the pain is that single tear rolling down your cheek while you're stuck in this loop of, I'm putting up Halloween decorations and I can't even finish this one motion. I'm in a 1.5.
It's like the further out she goes from, the city center, out into these outer fringes, the people become less and less interactive. You get to that neighborhood, that scene as Vision's going out, with doing the repetitive motion, she's just stuck in that moment. The husband, I assume there's a gentleman behind her, like endlessly setting down a pumpkin or something. He's also caught in that loop. And then you finally get to the cul-de-sac there at the far end, and everybody's just stopped. Nobody's doing anything. Just like
Amy's
stopped.
Amy's got the Warren Ellis. Nice, Amy. Yeah, and that's like Apocalypse. This is before Fabian Nicieza took over writing for the X-Men Apocalypse, which, by the way, his 1996 run on Apocalypse was freaking amazing. He's also very, very nice. I've met him twice, and he had a 2015 run on a new Age of Apocalypse, which was freaking amazing. I loved it.
Yeah. So my question about that was, why does her power, whatever, kind of seem to dwindle the further out you go? Is it because she's distracted with, she's got 2 kids that she has no control over? Is it because she's distracted? Is it because she's woken up or there's other children? There's a lot more going on because she has 2. She talks to Vision like, do you think I'm controlling this, telling people to go to their dentist appointments and going to get, back and forth, micromanaging all these little details?
Nessie, I think she didn't roll well for concentration.
Yeah, maybe so. But then that final, that scene where she just kind of,
thank you. Yeah. Cheers, Steven.
John, you're officially a D&D guy now.
Was that a perception check? Wisdom check? What are we doing?
Concentration check. Cheers to the chat, all the D&D nerds in the chat.
I'll drink. Hey, I mastered the dungeon. That's what I do.
Yeah, you are.
Master the hell of that dungeon.
So is it she's let her concentration wane, and then when
rolling 2 1s,
and then she just pushes that mega surge outward, obviously pushing past those neighborhoods, past the barrier. And she's pushing the barrier all the way out. I mean, is it just she forgot about those people, or she just put them in low stasis because it was too much to handle? What do you guys think about?
I tend to think that that's the idea, is that like she is paying attention to what's going on around her, and everybody else. She says something at the end of episode 5 where she's like, "Do you think I'm really doing it all, making sure they get to their dentist appointments on time and everything?" And
that's what I was thinking.
You're not. You're actually not.
They're not getting to their dinner or their breakfast
No.
I think
they're just kind of like, they're just out in like low power mode. They're just kind of in stasis or what have you. And she knows that.
Terrifying.
I also think it's very telling that when she expands the hex and it starts to swallow up all those sword agents, it's like, oh, it's a circus right outside of town, and look at all these clowns. And I'm just like, I love it, Wanda.
I love that. And I really want to. We didn't see what happened to Darcy. We didn't see her how she.
Oh my God!
Please don't. Please don't.
They just run off, and she's like, "Really? I love her so much."
But the nod to Christmas Story when she was like, "Oh fuck,"
and then she actually says fudge. She actually says fudge because the TV land sweeps over her. So
that's right.
She gets the edited version before she can get the whole word out.
It's like Nick Fury getting dusted before
mother. Now I did see something online. Is Darcy going to materialize in the costume of her Two Broke Girls character in the next episode?
Or is it like, okay, what she's going to be
Cassie? I like that.
So
she's going to be in the circus, so I'm wondering what her circus character is going to be.
No, going to be falling and dying off a trapeze. Oh my gosh!
No, she's just going to be her character from Two Broke Girls.
I saw that meme and I was like, I give up on the internet officially. I can't because then I'll miss out on Anna's memes. I can't do that.
That's some high praise coming from Micah.
Yeah.
If
Micah,
he's his favorite minor character.
If it's not just okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our friend in the chat, eat your magic moment. Yeah, it's because maybe she is being drained, trying to keep everything, all the plates in the air, and then she gets she levels up or something,
my initial thing was like, it's supposed to represent like people's, magic is not going to sustain people. So I'm thinking the people in the town are starving to death, or they will eventually, wither away and die. Or are they already dead? I don't know.
Because she's not paying close enough attention.
Yeah, it
sucks. And the one thing I want to make sure that I get out, gosh, we're almost at the 2-hour mark already. But the one last thing that I wanted to make sure I said was at the end, that in the last interaction between Wanda and Pietro was also quite chilling, because how callous it was for him to say, it's not like your dead husband can die twice, and the way she just turns on him and blasts him across the town square. Like, what? That is not a brother.
What did you just say to me?
On either end. That is not Pietro being a good brother. That's not Wanda being a good sister. So, like, that's going to be one of the things that plays out in the future. Bernie, hey sis, how you doing?
Hey, Bern.
Do you need
answer is yes.
I mean, yes. Say yes. Although if you haven't watched the MCU, you're going to be lost as hell. So, I mean, I do recommend it. It's one of the best things the MCU has ever done, in my opinion, and I think the panel will kind of agree with that. But if you haven't watched the films, you're not going to understand the context of so much that's happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said that for the first 3 episodes, but over the course of the last 3, it's become clear that I think you need to know.
So, Bernie, you need to have watched the Avengers, all the Avengers movies for sure. If you've seen all the Avengers films, Age of Ultron, and Infinity War and Endgame, you can probably follow along plenty well with what's going on in WandaVision. But I
have not seen all of the MCU movies.
And I would also say Captain America: Civil War.
Yes,
absolutely, yeah, that one too.
I always forget that's a Captain America movie. I just think it's an Avengers.
I know
Avengers 2.5.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people say all kinds of things about, stylistically it's a Captain America movie, but it's an Avengers movie masquerading as a Captain America movie.
Yeah, and then you get all of the Falcon and Winter Soldier action in those two, and those are going to be important coming up.
I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the conclusion of this show. Looking forward to, of course, Multiverse of Madness, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and also Loki. Definitely want to know what trouble he got up to.
Loki looked so amazing. This is what I was talking about before, about visually how like different this, like you watch the preview for Loki and it looks so different from anything else the MCU has done. It's like it has a darker look, but not dark like the DC extended universe. Ooh, we're really dark. It's it's just it's the way it's shot and kind of the vibe that it gives off, and it's just some darker shades to the character and the story. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do. Everything it looks like it's going to be a really cool thing to watch. So I'm finally I'm finally really excited about the MCU, guys.
Yay!
Hey man, better late than never, right?
If WandaVision has converted you, not necessarily like MCU's the best, but just like John, just let you know, I have not seen all of the Marvel movies. As much of a comic book nerd as I am, there's some I haven't seen. So there's some things that I do miss. But it's still, for a general audience, it's easy to consume. Mm-hmm. And I do like the new brave elements, this new brave world we live in now.
Yeah.
Where they have all the money and they can take all the risks.
I also want to apologize.
Yeah, and that trailer really was great.
I want to apologize to Matt because I know he's a DC fan. So if I offended you, I'm really sorry. I'm not a fan of some of those films, but I from what I can tell on Twitter, I know you are, and and so that's all. It's all good, man.
Yeah. So any final thoughts about WandaVision, about specifically 4 through 6, or looking ahead towards the end? One thing I do want to ask, that I've heard that there is a Luke Skywalker level cameo, probably still to come. Who theories, hopes, and wishes?
Luke Skywalker.
Okay, Luke Skywalker.
It's
Great.
Disney.
I mean, there's a multiverse now, right?
If I see an X-Wing, I'm just gonna freak.
Me too, Nessie. But I'm pretty sure I know who the Skywalker is.
You know who it is.
I'm pretty
confident. Well, if it's gonna be Reed Richards, that would be a big.
But that's not Luke Skywalker level. I'm sorry, I don't think that's a Luke Skywalker level cameo.
I mean, I would honestly, like, I'm biased because, as I've said, I'm a huge fan of those, legacy, X-Men films. So, like, for me, that would be one of the big characters from the original X-Men film.
Oh, that.
Yeah, like
Magneto walk in and be like, "Daddy's home."
Well, because here's the thing, we know through interviews that Patrick Stewart was actually approached by Kevin Feige, not for this in particular, but to make an appearance in the MCU. So I do think that if not here, maybe at some point in the future, we could be looking at some character from those legacy films to actually appear in the MCU, even if it's just for one film or whatever. But if it was Ian McKellen coming on, because it fits, that for me that would reach the level of that comparison of bringing Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Ian McKellen or Patrick Stewart would fit the bill for that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Patrick Stewart won't do it because
I think you're right.
Because Logan was his last hurrah as much as it was Hugh Jackman's.
I mean, he said it was, You bagged a dump truck full of money up to somebody's house. The last time might be the second to last time all of a sudden. But
and that's the thing. You really can't trust what anybody says, because I think as Game of Thrones fans, we kind of learned that with the extent to which they went with the whole Jon Snow thing. It's like they're going to lie through their teeth for the purpose of promotion, and to set up a surprise or something like that. So I pretty much assume that anybody who says something on camera is just lying through their teeth. Look at Ewan McGregor with the whole Obi-Wan thing. So, yeah.
I mean, I think Ewan was not getting the offer. The offers weren't exactly pouring in the door. I'm with Bernie, 100%. With Doctor Strange. With what just happened in this previous episode. I'm sorry, but
mentioned Doctor Strange,
Luke Skywalker level.
The Sanctum is just up the freaking road from how far, how much of New Jersey is now in this particular hex that Wanda has. I'm sorry, but Stephen Strange is going to notice. He's in New York. The Sanctum.
Okay, but I agree with Stephen. I don't think that. Because you'd expect, it's the MCU, you'd expect Doctor Strange to show up anywhere in the MCU.
It could be. I mean, but for me, when I was watching the end of The Mandalorian and the reveal happened, I never imagined that they would actually do that. I totally imagined that they would bring in Doctor Strange for this, which is why it's not that same level, in my opinion. It still could be, and it's like an actor saying it is this thing in a press junket. So, we are obviously making a mountain out of a molehill right now. But
I mean, who exactly made the comparison to the Luke Skywalker appearance, though?
You know what? I'm gonna find out real quick.
All right.
Wasn't it Elizabeth Olsen? I think
it was.
Really? I have not read many interviews with her recently.
And I'm sorry, Bernie, but I would expect any of the actors to make a cameo in this, because it's
content previews.
Because it's you have all these. You already have both Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany. It's and other actors who have appeared through the MCU. It wouldn't surprise me to have any of the names from the main MCU cast pop up in this show.
It was Elizabeth Olsen. Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
we'll see how far her words go.
You ready for my mind blowing?
Yes. Yes.
I don't know. It's not a theory or a prediction. It's just one I would love to see. What if Tony Stark showed up? A character who is also dead.
I don't think so.
What if?
I know that would make you guys excited.
I'm jumping off this boat.
Because I think he's got another show that he's going to be making some semi cameo appearances in coming up.
I would love some RDJ, Stephen. I
don't think they're going to want to.
I was considering that as well, but I don't know where he would fit into the story.
I mean, if we're
legendary level.
If we're talking about they're dealing with Wanda's mind, and somebody who can penetrate into Wanda's mind and communicate with her. I mean, maybe it is, Professor X makes a cameo appearance to break through.
I do think if we do actually see anybody.
You think it's James McAvoy?
No, I mean, I think that if we see any characters from the X-Men franchise other than who we've already gotten this version of Quicksilver, I think it'll be one of the iterations of Magneto.
Okay.
Whether that's Ian McKellen or Michael Fassbender.
Either one would be great.
As long as it's not, not that I wouldn't absolutely love this, but Deadpool showing up.
Oh my gosh, please don't do that. Please do not bring Ryan Reynolds into
as fun as that would be. Yeah, no, I don't think he kind of fits into what they're trying to do here. They've already got Pietro, who's the chaos character.
The when it comes to those fourth wall nods,
Break the fourth wall. He would kick it down.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say, like, here's the thing about Deadpool. What's so great about what they set up with those films is that character in those films can survive no matter what's going on with, who owns, what, parts of Marvel, because he's outside of the canon. He references like all these different versions of the X-Men and Marvel and stuff. So really he can pop up and truthfully.
Yeah, and he could come in here and he'd break all 6 walls of that.
But again, there's no,
including space and time.
But again, the reason isn't there for that to be the character they bring in. I really do think that if we're looking at somebody, like, again, I want to qualify this. If it's somebody from like the X-Men side of it all, I do think it's one of the actors who played Magneto, just because it makes sense for this story, because it's about Wanda. And so I don't think it would be anybody else necessarily from outside of the MCU, including, other X-Men characters or Deadpool. I don't see a reason why Deadpool would ever be brought into this. I really don't.
I'm with Aegon the Sixth. Answering a question really fast without putting any the multi-level thought into it.
We're just having fun speculating.
Yeah.
When we meet again in 3 weeks to discuss the end of the series, we'll know.
Yeah, I do think Stephen, yours
again, I really
bizarre as far as Tony Stark. I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
And again, like I just desperately want more connection to the X-Men films.
Oh, me too.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very biased in that regard. So if it happens, that'll be fantastic. But I'm not going to set myself up for disappointment either.
Yeah. I just wanted to speculate and have a good time with that, Okay, so any last thoughts? Anything we didn't cover?
I would like to see that X-Men crossover. Just anybody from there to just like kick the door open and say, "Hey, we're here now."
If Cable comes in, she can have like a weird Thanos flashback.
If who?
Cable.
I'm still upset about that. And do you know why I'm upset? Because in like the post-credit sequence for the first Deadpool, okay, Ryan Reynolds lied to me. He suggested the possibility of Keira Knightley playing Cable, okay? And that didn't happen. You tell me why, Ryan Reynolds. Why?
Oh, man. I don't think John could contain himself if Keira Knightley came as the surprise feature at the end of WandaVision. I think there'd be no containing him from that point on.
I'd be the number one fan of the MC.
So for Todd, who's in the chat, as far as like Tony, if it's Tony Stark, that would just take so much away from his death at the end of it.
It really would.
I'm sorry, spoilers. Whoever hasn't seen the end of Endgame.
Yeah,
he dies.
It would not be the real Tony at that point. It would be some sort of manifestation of Wanda, which it's entirely possible that's what Pietro is. So
I don't think she particularly cared for Tony anyway. If it were, she and he weren't close at all. So I don't think it would be him. It would be somebody that she has an emotional connection to. And maybe she really does want her dad.
Maybe.
And recast him. I don't know.
Sorry, Anna.
But
sorry,
that's
John.
I actually am leaning towards either Ian McKellen or Michael Fassbender. God,
that would be so amazing. Like
it would.
Yes. I'm sorry, Ajay Borkar. Like the Hawkeye.
Oh, Hawkeye as the cameo?
Yeah, I would love that because they have a rapport.
Yeah, he's the one that kind of like told her, how to, you go out there, you're an Avenger.
And this is also like a House of M kind of. So when she starts to have her mental breaks in House of M, Clint's dead. And then when she switches reality, he's alive.
I would love a Hawkeye cameo in this.
Jeremy Renner, Bernie.
I mean,
what's he got going on right now? Being happy. I don't know.
Again, that would get a shrug from me.
Oh,
that's not a Luke Skywalker level cameo in my opinion, but
I would still love him to just show up.
And I got to be honest, for me, Hawkeye has always been kind of a dull character, but.
Don't get it. He's the heart. He shows up and does and keeps fighting, even though he's like the least powerful. He's the one that shows he's the everyman dude, man.
Yeah, he's an uninteresting.
And this is something that, like in Age of Ultron, he's like, "There's the city's flying. There's aliens. I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense." There's this, self-awareness to him as well. Like, do you like?
I loved all those scenes
I'll be honest. The only time I've really, I got to be honest. The only time I've really cared for. I mean, like he does a good enough job in most things, but I really enjoyed Jeremy Renner in Arrival. But beyond that, I got to be honest. I think his characters tend to be a little bit on the dull side. So I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to get too many hate mails.
Yeah. So what about now? Have we covered everything? Are we going to end on like kind of crapping on Jeremy Renner a little bit?
No, absolutely not.
No. He's got a lot of heart, man. What if it's Silver Surfer?
That means Galactus is showing up.
That would definitely be out of left field, man.
Not Silver Surfer.
All right.
So I guess that's it. Nobody else is bringing anything else up. So
looking forward to episode 7.
Panel, thank you very much for this. This was a hell of a lot of fun, y'all. But, I mean, I enjoy what we do here on HPD, but this is a really fun one. Kelly, you are always a fantastic guest. John, Nessie, love you guys. You always bring your A game every week. But this one was particularly kind of really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So real quick, what's the next thing coming up in your respective lives? John, what's coming up next for you?
Okay, so next week, AK will be joining me and Aemy for our final live stream. We'll be talking about the film, The Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. And then the week after that, we'll be doing our very first podcast. And it'll just be an introductory episode where Aemy and I are going to goof around for a while. So, and we'll give a preview of what's ahead for the podcast. So go ahead, check that out. Our first movie up after that will be The Wizard of Oz. So I know we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Aemy will be able to talk all about monkeys.
Yay.
Poor Aaron.
Nessie, what's coming up next on the Unspun Yarn?
Oh, we've got another installment in the Magical Menagerie. Is going to be on the 24th of February. Time TV determined because I have to check with my with Amy's schedule to see what she's doing. I think should be like it might be at the regular time. But anyway, yes, Magical Menagerie installment on the Phoenix, the fiery Phoenix, y'all. So
it's going to be a great one. Phoenix is a really interesting critter, and I can't wait to see it. Kelly, you've got stuff coming up too. I mean, I know you don't make your own content, but you're starting to become a regular in other people's content. What's your next thing you got coming up?
I will be on Nessie's channel with Aemy Blackfyre for their Bleep the Patriarchy. It'll be, what did you call it, Nessie? Bleep Ahoy?
Bleep Ahoy.
And I have already made the title card for you guys. So.
All right. We're going to be talking about patriarchy, misogyny, and sailor superstitions. And I will also be on Jawoof. apparently, in late March for talking about X-Men 2, X2, unofficially X-Men United.
Right on.
Late March.
And come back next week to Here Be Dragons, where I will be continuing the I Know That Nerd series, deep dive interview with Nessie, the questing beast of the Unspun yarn. So yeah, everyone, this is a great time. Thank you, chatters and viewers for having such a great time. We got a cat on right here at the end of the stream, so that means if you haven't liked the video or the stream already, you now, like, by internet law, have to like it because there is a cat on the screen. And you know what? We're gonna. There you go.
There she is. Hi, kitty.
There's the cat, and it's not the best picture. I know your internet's not great, Nessie, but the cat is still there. So yeah, kitty. Yeah. All right. So everyone, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. And you know what it is. Until next time, peace and be excellent to each other.